Hey folks, it's Maxwell here and welcome to episode 97, I believe, of the AEW for the Sickos save on TW9. Apologies for the wee break there. That time of year where we're all aware there's a lot of games coming out, and I had a few where I'm kind of near the end of completion and I felt like I could finish off a few things. Got one or two things done. There's still a couple that I need to get in Forza a few races, but I know when that's done, that's completely done. And that's me until Forza Horizon. But not just that. If you follow me on social media on Twitter, you probably notice I have an offline save, and I was just getting through basically to the. I always feel there's a soft reset after All In, so I kind of got All In done and had my great idea of the AEW Survival of the Fittest tournament. So I basically do a lot of stuff that probably wouldn't make sense in a video in terms of me trying to tell stories. So it's a big 50-man tournament. Doing it for the women as well. 5 groups of 10, round robin. Top 2 advance to a group of 10, the top 2 in each group. And then the top 2 from that group become the survival of the fittest for AEW. I feel it's a good chance to help develop skills, the attributes of the younger talents. It's a good chance to build up a lot of people's psychology stat. And I think it's a good way if you want to try and get somebody really over. If they get a good couple of wins, they can gain some good momentum and get their popularity over. So that's the wee thing I do aside for this save, because I like saves to get a wee bit unrealistic. So like I had 140,000 at a show, and it's ticked off about 5 things. So that's what we've got planned here today, a wee sneak peek for once. So without further ado, we'll crack on, and here is Dynamite, of course, followed by Collision and the B-shows. So we start this week's show from the Wells Fargo Arena with Don Callis behind his man, the protostar Kyle Fletcher. AEW Revolution will see a true revolution in AEW when the new guard steps up and takes over. When I, Kyle Fletcher, defeat the past of wrestling, Bryan Danielson, and someone who considers himself to be the present, Will Ospreay. Wallace continued to do what he does best, and that is try and get in my way. Slow up my development so I can't overtake him in becoming a global star and the world champion. This prompts Ospreay to come out and says, "Listen, Kyle, enough. Honestly, bruv, you just irate me at times. You know fine well you couldn't beat me, and that's why we're here. We drew. I'm half in a mind to say to Scott D'Amore, oi bruv, give me Kyle Fletcher one more time." This then prompts the AEW World Champion Bryan Danielson to come out, and he says, listening to that in the back, it makes me chuckle how Kyle Fletcher thinks he's got all of this sorted. I'm an easy match. I've had war after war after war. And listen, Kyle, an idea I have, well, how about we don't wait to Revolution? How about you and Don get yourself a partner tonight, and you can meet me and Will in the ring for tonight's main event tag match. So I felt like that was a good idea to get them kind of mingling together. We can have a main event tonight of Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson against Kyle Fletcher, and a to-be-named tag partner. The Callis War storyline advances. Kyle Fletcher is getting better at his gimmick with a segment rating of 78. Our opening contest probably could have main evented. It was a bout that had superb wrestling and good heat. They've had matches before, but Walter defeats Rush. Why do I keep saying Rush? Rush in 16-15 by pinfall with a ladder. It always catches me off, and every time I go to say now Rush, I end up saying Rush. That's one of those things. The wrestling was a 91, the 74 for the crowd, 86, so fantastic. Obviously, these two have pretty high brawling rate. Walter can always carry these matches with psychology. Sometimes you worry about the lack of selling penalty. But yeah, overall, very happy with that one. The fact that he's done this on a random Dynamite is good. We hear from Walter after it, and he says, "This is just a regular occasion for me. Unlike MJF, I will take on anyone at any point to show complete respect to our sport. MJF thinks he belongs at the pinnacle of this profession. He thinks he's going to be the champion. Not on my watch. If anyone can beat Bryan Danielson for that belt down the line, it will be me, and I'll send MJF back to whatever musical, whatever film, you name it, that he has got his heart set on." So in 82 for Walter, of course, coming up on Collision, we will see Walter in action once again as he takes on Wardlow. But 82, solid stuff, and the Backbone storyline advances. Next up, we're about that had superb wrestling and a decent reaction from the audience as the Lucha Bros defeat the Kings of the Black Throne in 14:25 when Rey Fenix pinned Brody King with a quick cradle. The match was designed to be a steal the show matchup. So overall, some really positive things here. 85 for the wrestling, an overall segment rating of 77. If you look at the performances there, you can see excellent stuff, especially from Rey Fenix with 96, Penta with 85, and I'd even say an encouraging 84 from Brody King, especially when that's him off his game. The storyline advances and gains heat. Unfortunately, we do get the psychological penalty, which probably takes us down from what would have been probably a low 80 rating, but some solid stuff. I would say in our tag division, however, the Lucha Bros have picked up the win. Malachi Black decides to roll back into the ring, and as Brody King gets to his feet, bang, a spinning kick from Malachi Black right to his partner on the face. Julia Hart is in complete shock. She's like, "What the hell are you doing to Brody, to Malachi?" And Malachi Black just looks in disgust. He spits towards Brody King, and he heads to the back. So the plan is for the split. The split has now happened. It's a 67 segment. The house is no more. Julia will stick with Brody King. And we'll just do the double face turn. Holy shit, I didn't realize it was 24 segments. So he's turned face. Complete success. Julia's done it for 25. Complete success. Didn't realise it was as long as that. It was always planned for a long, long time for this to happen. But we'll have the match up at Revolution. Next up, decent matchup. Valkyrie defeats Roxy in 9:59 with the guillotine. 57 for the wrestling, 49 crowd, 62 segment. Decent stuff. Just again, getting them moving towards their women's tag match at Revolution. We cut backstage and we see Don Callis approach Paul Heyman, who's with Ricochet and Ua, of course, the AEW Tag Team Champions. And he goes, "Listen, Heyman, we go way back. We may not have saw eye to eye, but boy, do I have an offer for you. You see, now I know that Ua is in action tonight against Samoa Joe. That's coming up next. But my client, Kyle Fletcher, could use a partner tonight, and we want Ricochet." Heyman turns around and goes, Are you crazy? Why the hell would I offer the services of my tag team champion to a weasel like you? Like, what the hell do I have to gain from it? Says Paul Heyman. But we hear from Ricochet. He says, Paul, it's fine. You might not have much to gain from it, but when I beat Will Ospreay in the main event, it's going to be out of this world, and I will gain the world from it. Count me in. And then Ricochet does that that he always seems to do. I just can't do it. So 79, it's confirmed your main event then. Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson against Kyle Fletcher and Ricochet. Solid stuff. So Ua took on Samoa Joe in a wild brawl, and Joe picked up the win in 10:31, winning via the Muscle Buster. Joe is benefiting from being an amazing forum, a 67 rating, 70 segment overall. I think it does its job. We're obviously building up to that matchup with the tag titles on the line. I think it's quite ironic. We've got Joe in this kind of program going towards tag belts. And I'm awfully safe. I've got him as part of the Titans of the Island. Him and Jeff Cobb as a tag team. I don't know why. I just have Joe in this role in both saves. It's crazy. We see the Motor City Machine Guns in the back wishing Kushida luck as he heads towards the gorilla position to have his matchup. The Guns then head back to the locker room where they're confronted by the trio of Lashley, MVP and Shelton Benjamin. And it's a 3-on-2 beatdown. But as this continues to go down, we have to go live to ring, wrestling fans. We have some live action, as Tony Schiavone would say. 65 segment, MVP's getting a little bit stale. But yeah, beat down from the Hurt Syndicate. They hurt people. Because the matchup in the ring was decent, and it saw Powerhouse Hobbs, of course, part of the Hurt Syndicate, defeat Kushida in 7:07 by pinfall with a frog splash. Storytelling matchup, a 55 performance from Kushida, a 71 for Powerhouse Hobbs, and a 67 overall. After the matchup, Hobb picks up the win, and he is now beating the utter crap out of Kushida. Spinebuster after spinebuster after spinebuster. He hurts people, and then we see Kushida stretchered out as the Guns are being held hostage by the Hurt Syndicate. So a 59 for this segment. I know last week we done the kind of angle where it was like, you know, the Guns on the same wavelength with Kushida, but this was kind of wanting to keep them all as baby faces, keep them on good terms, but Kushida then gets written off by the Hurt Syndicate, and he can move towards the Hurt Syndicate versus the Motor City Machine Guns. I believe it should be main event time. Yes. Wow, and that has absolutely surpassed expectations. It was about to have superb wrestling and great heat as the team of Kyle Fletcher and Ricochet defeat Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay in 21:47 when Kyle Fletcher pinned Bryan Danielson via the Grimstone following Don Callis' interference. So excellent. I felt like we needed a big matchup for Kyle to get involved in. I was maybe worried about the psychology penalty. I know Bryan can carry it, but you still have Ospreay, Fletcher and Ricochet who are probably... Ospreay might be around about 80, but Fletcher and Ricochet's psychology is usually mid to high 70s, so it's not at times strong enough to carry a match. But delighted by that one. Your wrestling rating's 89, your overall segment's at 89, your storyline advances and gains heat, and obviously you've got participants in the storyline facing off against each other, so you shouldn't get a penalty in that regard. So we've actually had quite a sick night of matches. And we finished the show with some words from Darby Allin, and he says, "Gabe Kidd, you've picked a fight, hell you've picked a war with the wrong man. You see, I will die for this company, and good luck trying to kill me." Obviously mentions he was at Mount Everest, etc. "I stand in front as everyone as the AEW Continental Champion, and this is usually defended in straight up matches. Good wrestling matches. But I don't want a match with Gabe Kidd. I want you and me locked inside a steel cage at Revolution. Do you accept? I want my answer next week." So a 74 for that segment. The storyline advances and gains heat. And we find ourselves with a very solid 86 rating thanks to that one. I wouldn't say we were particularly great in promo, but I think we have progressed a few storylines. I've got my card pretty much sorted for the event, so oops, MD that misses the card, but it is pretty much decided. And we gain popularity in 5 regions, which will probably be your kind of lower end places rather than in the States and Japan. The more you're kind of in India, etc., more places that it's maybe not as popular. So that is Dynamite. I'll go ahead book my B show, but let's jump to Saturday night and Collision. Wrestling fans around the world, welcome to another mega edition of AEW Collision live from Buffalo, New York. I'm hoping that is correct with the KeyBank Centre, and I hope I've not just messed that up. But anyway, it's Tony Schiavone alongside Nigel McGuinness, and we can confirm the following matches for tonight's Collision. A dream match main event as Konosuke Takeshita will do battle against El Hijo del Vikingo in what should be a classic matchup. We will also see Johnny Gargano in action, and we'll find out who will face Mercedes Moné at Revolution as Io Shirai battles Queen Aminata. But first off, as mentioned last week, Walter will do battle with Wardlow. So a 66 there, promoting everything that's going to be in the show, and a few others added on to that. Storylines advance, 1 gains heat, and 1 loses heat, with the 66 rating. Opening contest was a good while brawl, and it was Walter that came out on top against Wardlow in 13:49 with the lariat. 77 for the wrestling, 71 for the crowd, and 80 for the segment. Obviously, we're building up momentum for Wardlow to get his hands on MJF. The Wild Brawl obviously suits Walter with a 94, Wardlow with a 60, and the storyline advances. This precedes us to having a few words from MJF. "Well done, Walter. Well done, bud. Now, normally I'd say, get 'em, boys, but hold up, I've got a few things I want to say to you. How dare you question my commitment to this sport? I've worked my ass off in many disciplines, and then when I came to wrestling, I had some of the best coaches in the world at one of the best schools in the world. Hell, I hear they're very good at creating pros. I ain't maybe the man around here. I want a multi-time world champion, and a man who will take that belts to films, to Hollywood. I'm the most ambitious man to ever participate in this industry, and beating you will cement my spot at challenging for the world title." So he's absolutely furious, but getting a bit of heat into this one. Their storyline advances and gains heat, and it was an 84 rated segment. Next up, we're about to have some great wrestling and a decent reaction from our audience, as Queen Aminata defeats Io Shirai in 13:02 by pinfall, thus meaning that Queen Aminata is your number 1 contender for the AEW Women's World Championship. This was an 83 for the wrestling, a 68 crowd, and a very good 80 segment overall. Io brought a 92, Aminata 75, and Aminata having a strong connection with the female demographic. So why did I come to this conclusion? Well, we needed an opponent for Mercedes. I still wasn't sure who it was going to be. And then pre-show Io Shirai said that Queen Aminata has a great future, and I'd be happy to put her over. So I'm hoping that can get Aminata quite close to 70 over. and it should be a good matchup between her and Mercedes Moné. But Io Shirai, let's be honest, just a cheat code in this. We then hear from Mercedes. She says, "Well done, Aminata. You go, girl. You have just written yourself into the record books as the next woman to lose to Mercedes Moné as she defends her AEW Women's World Championship. You beat Io. She's good. But I am a different level, especially when it's on pay-per-view and it's all about the money. Revolution, you go down, and the money train just carries on." So a 78 segment for that one. Queen Aminata, Mercedes Moné, Revolution. Should be good. Next up, we're about that had some good wrestling and a decent reaction from our audience. Kevin Steen defeats Sammy Guevara in 10:50 with a package pile driver. It was 72 for the wrestling, a 62 crowd, and a 73 segment overall. Pretty level in terms of performances. Sammy slowed down by his elbow injury. We then hear from Kevin, and he says, "A few weeks ago, I had my name mentioned by a certain Eddie Kingston. Now, Eddie, it's amazing how long that you can hold a grudge for, just because I beat you in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3, fairly, by the way, I must add. But oh, grumpy Eddie, oh, Eddie doesn't like this and that. Just because you've gotten the one up on others who've beaten you, doesn't mean that you're even going to get close to my level. You see, Eddie, I've evolved. I've become a well-rounded pro wrestler, a fair good athlete, one known around the world. And as for you, well, you're nothing but a thug from the streets who should be in jail." So a 77 segment there. Storyline advances. Yeah, it's getting a bit of tension between Eddie Kingston and Kevin Steen. We then see Sammy in the back, and he's holding an ice pack on his elbow. We see Jack Perry walk by, and he says, "Sammy, there was a time we were considered as two of the top pillars in this company, but then other people decided they wanted to halt our momentum. Maybe we seek to refine that. Think about it." So Jack Perry's in action next. Sammy Guevara a little bit down in the dumps, and a 57 segment with Sammy getting better at his gimmick. Jack Perry's matchup was against Ilya Dragunov, and it was about that had some good wrestling and a decent match reaction from the crowd, as Ilya Dragunov defeats Jack Perry in 10:45 with Torpedo Moscow. Still the show matchup, a fantastic performance from Ilya Dragunov on 91. Bit disappointed Jack only got a 68 off his game, but overall an 80's pretty fair. And yeah, we'll see what happens between Jack Perry and Sammy Guevara going forward. Next up, decent matchup. We saw Johnny Gargano defeat Lance Archer in 10:02 by pinfall with a Hearts Donut. This was our storytelling matchup of the night. Underdog overcoming Monster, and Gargano picks up the win in the 66. We then have a few words from Johnny Gargano, and he says, "Adam Cole, I'm sorry that I had to do this, but you keep knocking me back for a match at AEW Revolution, and while I spoke to Scott D'Amore, legally you have no foot to stand on per your contract. So AEW Revolution, with Roddy and Kyle banned from ringside, it's going to be Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole, baby." So a 69 segment there was a good way to kind of build up that we're going to have that matchup without having to do it in ambush like we seem to do with every other heel stable. And your main event, as expected, to be phenomenal. Superb wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Takeshita defeats Vikingo in 21:58 by submission with the Wall of Takeshita. 87 for the wrestling, 66 crowd, 87 segment, 80 for Vikingo and 94 for Takeshita. So the promising things here is they fought before, it was only a 76 a year ago, so that shows how much they've developed in that time. The fact that Takeshita's psychology was able to carry this as well is a positive. And yeah, gave them a bit of time, and they absolutely nailed it. So yeah, delighted with that. And we finished the show with some words from Swerve Strickland. It says, "Take, that was a good win tonight, but let me tell you this, with what you did last week, big mistake. You put a target on your back, and I'm here finding arrows that I can shoot right down the middle of your spine. Watch yourself, look over your shoulder, look over Don Callis' shoulder, man, because I will avenge for what you did last week." In whose house? Swerve's house. So in 88 segment there, the storyline of the Callis War advances, and things are getting heated up between Swerve Strickland and Takeshita. So no popularity changes. We could have gained 2 in Oceania. The last episode of Dynamite was only just stuff in Oceania as well, and the fans were disappointed that more matches didn't carry dramatic stakes. But I think storyline wise, that's probably about 5 or 6 matches that you're going to see take place at Revolution. So we'll jump into the main screen, we'll have a look at the news around the world, and we'll look over the B shows to see if anything's really happened. So we go straight into the massive news that Scott Steiner is to retire from the industry within 30 days. That means we've probably got like a 130% chance of surviving in the wrestling industry going forward. So anyway, on to the more important stuff. Collision was awesome, that's good to see. We've got Yuya Uemura bonding with Jake Lee. Shockwave, people seem to enjoy the show. I was quite happy with how the B show worked out. You've got WWE loaning out Rhea Ripley to Marigold, so she'll go and get some experience out in Japan. Which I think's pretty cool. I think they handled her development really well, but in WWE, like, she had the good stint in NXT UK, where obviously less pressure, and I think that, and then NXT just, I think, made her just explode on the main roster. Like, I just feel it's such a small thing, that NXT UK stint, but it's probably benefited her a millionfold going forward, to where, like, just so much experience and confidence at what late 20s she is now. It's just like kudos to how they've handled her. Apart from that, nothing that massively affects us. Killswitch has got chronic lower back pain. That's fine. News items just tells about Rhea, because I've got everyone from WWE, AEW, etc. all New Japan all shortlisted. 1.4 million viewers for Collision, 2.9 for Shockwave. Jeff Jarrett says that JD Drake doesn't connect with the fans, and that Kevin Knight has had a grueling schedule. He's probably had a lot of New Japan stuff. So really, the only thing we have to cover is just the B shows. So we'll jump in and have a wee look at Rampage. So it was a quick one. I had Kyle O'Reilly defeating Billy Christian in a 64. We had Athena with a win over the Bunny, which was a 60. More discussions between Billy Starks and Athena, 62, as they look to target the AEW Women's World Tag Titles that of course are coming at Revolution. Kevin Knight defeats Mike Bennett in a 62, and our main event saw Mark Briscoe defeat Rocky Romero in a 65, before we had some words from the TNT champion. As for Shockwave, we had Jamie Hayter and Willow Nightingale defeat the Money Corporation's Nixon Newell and Ken Kota. That was a 69. Obviously frustrated, but Bailey cut some words saying that the corporation will only get better and better over time. So her, Kota, Nixon, Roxy and Sky Blue with some words. I've kind of decided, like, since the defeat to her, that like Chris hasn't taken it well. Chris Statlander, the defeat to Mercedes, hence she's not featured. Takuma Aroha defeated Priscilla Kelly in a 78. She done a massive carry job here. And then she had a little bit of a confrontation with the TBS champion Mariah May. We had some words from the best wrestler alive, Max Caster, which was a 59, before him and Mike Bailey had a 65 rated match, with them having great chemistry, which shocked me. Kevin Knight defeats Johnny TV in a 60. The Hurt People, the Hurt Syndicates, Powerhouse Hobbs and Bobby Lashley defeated Top Flight in a 70. Before we saw Hobbs, Lashley and MVP. Apparently Shelton doesn't do B shows. Basically talking about, you know, they're fed up all these little flippy guys and all these wee guys. They're just here to hurt people, and they're going to hurt everybody that's quite flippy and wee. So obviously Kishida's been one. Top Flight 2 there. And your main event saw Eddie Kingston pick up some winning momentum, defeating JD Drake in a 70. So that is us. We are now going to move on to the go home week for Revolution. Get the card fully put together. I'm quite content with what I've got, and hopefully it does deliver. But of course, we need the storylines to give us a real urgency to want to be there. So as always, thanks very much for watching. Hopefully, it should be back to a kind of regular schedule, about 5 days. If anything slows down, it's new game season, and my offline save's been good. But thanks for tuning in. Main check out the Fantasy Booker subreddit, Grey Dog Software forums for more written content there. You'll have people with, the patches as well to keep your game fully updated. And of course, beardbooker.net and twdb.com. Until next time, take it easy. See you soon. Bye bye.